G'day everyone, Prep Aussie here. I hope you're all well in whatever part of the world you're watching this video. Today is Sunday, the 1st of October 2020. 1st of November, sorry, 2020. And the time here is 08:50 Australian Eastern Standard Time. Well, folks, where do you start, honestly? So we'll start at the beginning. I'll do my sponsor and then we'll get into it. Here is my sponsor, Totally Rawsome, who make golden activated turmeric paste, amongst other things. Curcuro bombs, look at the top here. Turmeric for pets, or turmeric as I say, turmeric paste, happy healing silica, etc., etc. Look, folks, if you're not taking any of this stuff, if you haven't tried it yet, these guys make top-notch, really, really good stuff. Everyone I've recommended it to is now an avid fan, and anybody who I've recommended it to and has tried it recommends it to other people. It's that good. Excuse me. So look, get some. You're mad if you don't. This is where you can find them. Markets in the Meadow today, 6 till 12 at the Gold Coast Turf Club. Every Thursday at Currumbin Community Market, 7 till 11. And contact info@totallyrawsome.com.au. Okay. Right. I'm trying to do this differently today in another bedroom, and the light, hopefully, I don't get that in your face too much, but I'll try not to move around too much. I was using my lights, but they're too, they blind me. I can't see anything. And as it is, I'm blind anyway. So all of those who thought that COVID-19 was over, put your hands up. Yeah, you at the back, you can leave because you haven't been paying attention. In the last couple of hours, the UK has gone back into, or England. Now, in case you don't know this, if you're not geographically inclined, England is a country within the UK. It is not Wales, it is not Scotland, and it's not Northern Ireland, that's for friggin' sure. It is its own country within the United Kingdom. So England has gone into lockdown. Now, the interesting thing here is that you're now going to start seeing things like in these contagion movies, etc., where they're shutting down borders. So I would imagine there'll be a Hadrian's Wall scenario in Scotland. If you don't know what Hadrian's Wall is, the Romans actually built it to keep the Scottish out because they were so wild, they were feral, and the Romans had no answer to their atrocities. And you know, if the Romans killed 100 of them, they'd come back and kill 1,000 Romans. They were just nut jobs. So they built this thing called Hadrian's Wall in a peninsula between England and UK, right across the country, over hills and dales. And it still stands somewhere. Some of it's still standing today. You can go and see it. So I think we are now going to get into that scenario where places like Wales, just like you've seen here in Australia, Queensland border closures, you know, all this bullshit to keep hospitals from getting overrun. But in a little bit of my head, I'm thinking, okay, I know that hospitals can get overrun, but why aren't they sort of, because there's nowhere now that has exhibitions or anything like that, why don't they just grab hold of a big hall and convert it into a massive COVID hospital? Call me crazy. So look, basically, as I've been saying from day one, this is not going to end. And don't you think it's kind of a little bit inconspicuous? US election or big COVID thing again? God, these people, I could write this script for these guys, honestly. How to be a devious shitbag, chapter 1. You know what I mean? It's just, they're just ridiculous. These guys are just, but here, as I've always said from day one as well, here is the interesting thing. It's going to be financial. They are going to break everybody financially first, so that you're totally reliant upon them. How can you be totally reliant upon them? For food, water, and money. So, you know, the skeptic in me is now just going, this is a joke. This is an absolute joke. But look, it's so bloody frustrating. For all those people out there that are going on about all these YouTube channels that got canned and everything else, what were you expecting? What were you expecting? Honestly, were you expecting, you know, that people like SGT Report can put up people on their channel saying YouTube sucks and da 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 da, and you know, if you're going to poke the enemy, you've got to expect to be poked back. Now, what makes more sense? Someone like me coming on here and just going, guys, look, this is where we're at. Do something about it. Because this isn't getting any better. It's not going to get any better. Do you not understand that? What have I been saying? They are going to break us financially first, or break everybody financially. Doesn't matter who you are. They need you to be totally reliant upon the system. I'm going to say that again so you understand it. So if somebody new watching this, or you're going to show this to somebody else, they need you to be totally reliant upon the system. Regardless of your age, sex, whatever, religion. So, you know, look, I'm drinking my turmeric coffee. If you see a yellow tongue, that's because of the turmeric. Look, I don't come on here I've only had one ambition on this channel. It's not to piss everybody off. It's to wake people up. If I wake one person up to what's coming, then I've done my job. And what's coming is, look, it could be 2 years from now for all I know. Because if you haven't noticed, they're printing money like confetti. The US is printed $3 trillion worth of money in the last 6 months, since March. Let that sink in. $3 trillion since March. Printed. Well, it wasn't printed. They just went bink on a computer, and all of a sudden you got $3 trillion added to your deficit. Now, I'm not going to go back and show you if you want to watch my last 2 videos, I actually sat down and went through the debt to GDP ratios, etc. And I'm not a financial guru, and I can do it. And I'm sure you can do it if you really want to. So go back and watch the last two videos if you want to share that, show people and share it with other people. Okay, but what I will say today is this. Here's what people are not remembering. Okay, so you've had a crash. We are now currently, right now, while your ass is sitting here watching this video, we are currently in a worse financial crisis since the Great, I'll say that again. We are now currently in a worse financial crisis than the Great Depression. The only thing that is keeping it afloat is two things. One, printing money like confetti, and two, a little card that you've got in your handbags or bags or wallets or whatever. That's it. Because remember, in 1932, there was no credit cards. And in 1932, there was no massive stimulus packages. Now, here's something interesting. I'm going to leave a link for this video. It's called Doku, the 1929 Great. I watched it last night. Jesus, guys, seriously. It's a carbon copy. It is an absolute carbon copy. If you took COVID out of the equation and you just watch this video for the financial bit, you are left in no illusions as to how bad we are at the moment. We're actually in a worse situation now. So where are we going with this? Or what is the government going to do about it? Well, here's what they're going to do. Pretty soon, they're going to start saying things like, okay, if you get any form, if you've got kids living in your house from the ages of 16, might make it 18, from 18 up, and they're just sitting around on their ass doing nothing, then the government is actually going to enforce work camps. That will be the first thing when you know things are going pear-shaped. Not for the fact that the little princes and princesses need to get off their ass and go and do something, but for the fact that they are going to mandate work camps. And this will include adults, etc. So they have man work camps, women work camps. And they will rush those in real quick. And do you know why? Because while you're sitting there, remember, they need to keep control. So while you're sitting here right now, there's fruit and vegetables rotting in the ground or rotting on the vine or rotting on a tree because no one's there to pick them. So you are looking at mass food shortage issues very, very soon. And I can tell you that that's the truth because okay, I'm not going to tell you that bit, but I talked to a bloke who owns a fruit shop, and he's told me already that they're struggling sometimes to get the right amount of stuff because no one's picking the fruit and veggies because the backpackers are gone. And we've had this ridiculous system in this country where we've actually imported backpackers for 2 years, and if they go and do 3 months out in the fields, then they can actually stay here for an extra year. Don't forget the fact that we've got capable kids sitting around on their asses doing nothing. But once again, it's all control. So here's what's going to happen. That's going to get real bad real quick. Think about that. Now, here's something very, very bad that you need to know if you live in Western Australia. And I can guarantee you're not paying attention to it. So let me show you. Okay, before I go to the article, do you guys remember, I said to you, sorry, that light's annoying, isn't it? That if you're in Western Australia, then you're looking at, okay, let me start again. For all of you people who do not know this, Western Australia is either A, the most isolated capital city in the world, or B, the second most isolated capital city in the world. I can't remember if it's one or two, but hey, who cares? Because if this is Australia, that's the East Coast, that's the West Coast, right? It's in a direct line, more or less, with Sydney, but it's on the West Coast. It's kind of like Florida to LA. And actually, I think it's even longer than that. I can't remember now, but it's like the distance of Florida, or Miami to LA. Think about that. A lot of people don't understand how big Australia is, but that's reality. So you've got to drive from Miami to LA to get to Perth in Western Australia. And hey guys, when you're doing that, it's not like driving across America. There is sweet FA between the two. And I mean, I've done it and there's nothing there. So I always said that if you live in Western Australia, you need to have a plan B about how you're going to get out of Western Australia. Because when this hits, if you're not self-sufficient, you're going down a shit shoot real quick. And it's an arid, dry, it's a dry, arid desert environment. And it's harsh. There's no two ways about it. It's one of the most harshest environments in Australia. Although the little strip from Perth down to Albany, etc., is beautiful. Perth is a little bit more dustier and drier than say Margaret River down 3 hours down south. You know, it's got a different environment totally. So here's what I'm going to say to you, and I said this to you ages ago, folks, and no one listened to me. I said they're going to break the supply chains to Western Australia. Now watch this and ask yourself this question: how did this become a fact? BP shuts down Kwinana Refinery, the actual oil refinery in Western Australia. Don't worry about the jobs bit, that's irrelevant. But here you go, listen to this. So, don't you? I'll leave the link in the thing. So what I'll say to you is this: look, basically, there's no more oil refining in Western Australia. So the tankers don't pull up with Saudi Arabian oil or wherever they get it from, Timor, who cares? But that's not happening anymore. It's being processed in Indonesia from Saudi Arabia. So it's got to go from Saudi Arabia to Indonesia, be processed, and then it's going to be sent on a boat, right, to Perth. So that they'll pump it off the boat into the new import refinery. So basically, it's just going to be a processing. It's not a processing plant. There's going to have big tanks there, and then it's just going to be distributed across WA from there. Now, you people might not realise this, but I think there's something like 2 million people thereabouts that live in Western Australia. 2 million. Might be more. I don't know. Look, I'm not going to go on Google and find out. It's something like that, folks. 1 million of those live in Perth. So the rest of the state is basically a desolate shithole. I mean that in a funny way. I don't mean it's a shithole, but look, it's pretty desolate. And if you've driven up and down it, you'll know what I mean, and I have. And if you've driven out of it, you've driven out of Perth to Kalgoorlie, etc., it's desolate. There's nothing there. Nothing. Except a few farms and farming communities. So I wonder, what can go wrong here? Just say Indonesia gets a shit, so they go on strike or whatever, and we're not getting our oil. or they're not sending it to Western Australia. What do you think is going to happen literally overnight, within hours? Mate, they want to be building, and I'm being serious here, they want to be building the world's biggest plant, import plant there, to make sure of those sort of facts, because that's going to happen. So what do you think is going to, the government's not going to build it. BHP's building it. So what do you think they're going to do? They're just going to have a 3-day supply, maybe 10 tops, because you realise how big that is and how dangerous that is to keep it there live where they build this thing. It's massive. So even a 3-day supply is a factory that's just out of this world, the tanks. So if you're living in WA, you need to know this sort of stuff. And if you know people are living in WA, you need to remind them about this. Because we're living through a thing at the moment where, here's a classic example. Ship comes down from Indonesia, all the crew's full of COVID. What happens to the fuel? Because it has to dock. If you know anything about the, it's a really hard process, stringent safety protocol process to pump oil or diesel or petrol or whatever the hell they're pumping from a ship into a tank. And the reason is because of static electricity, etc. So they're not just going to chuck a pipe out to the ship that's a couple of k's off the coast because of COVID. That ain't going to happen. It needs to dock. It needs to be grounded, i.e. static electricity, etc. And that ain't going to happen if the crew's full of COVID, is it? So what happens to the fuel deliveries? One thing I will say about this is, sorry, this is happening real quick, by the way. This isn't like going to happen next week, but it's actually quicker than you think. The new terminal expected to open in 2022. So basically, you've got a year before this is supposed to happen. Now, this is how pathetic the government is in Australia. They've signed a deal with the US, right? Australia, like, where Australia is down here. So this is the world. That's Australia. The US is either that way or that way. It's a long way away. So the Australian government, in their infinite wisdom, has signed a deal with the US to stockpile our oil, etc., in the US. Sorry, shouldn't laugh. I was trying to keep a straight face then, but I couldn't do it. So they're going to actually stockpile our stuff in the US. What can go wrong there? I'm sorry. Look, God, so bloody hard. Do you know what the most annoying thing is? Is that I just have to keep sitting here and keep saying more or less the same thing to everybody, that this isn't going to get better. And they're going to break you financially. As I said to you, I'm going hell for leather trying to finish off veggie gardens, etc., etc. Will they be ready in time? I don't know. I'm trying as hard as I can. I've got some, which is, even if you've got one, you're 100% better than the person who's got none. So it's so hard for me to sit here, keep saying this stuff, because I think to myself, well, no, is anybody listening anymore? Does anybody care anymore? Because you know, like I was saying about the YouTube thing, you know, losing people. I don't give an absolute rat's ass about that. If you look at my videos, YouTube has capped my numbers at 3,000 every single time, every single video. So either A, my platform is the most boring on YouTube and I have no new people watching it at all over the last couple of years. You go back, watch every single video, look at all my videos, go back 2 years, it's 3,000. I have not had over 3,000 in about 2 years. Or B, it's been capped, which is fine. I don't give a shit. Like I said, as long as one person hears the message, then I guess we're all like, someone's going to be okay. But look, if you've still got a credit card, if you're still trying to live and all that sort of stuff, and someone wrote to me the other day and said, you know, I'm stuck in a house I can't afford. You might have seen it in the comments. I'm stuck in a house I can't afford. I've got nowhere to pay anything. You know, I'm credited out. Blah blah blah. Here's what I would say to I never said anything to that person, but here's what I would say to those particular type of people. And believe me, I'm not far behind you. If I knew, for example, that I was actually going to be thrown out of my house, the world was going to shit, I had a car that needed to be serviced or, you know, whatever, here's what I would do. I would get that card. I would go and get every single thing done that I wanted to do or buy everything that I wanted to do. And FTW, I'd make sure that I was okay. Does that make sense? My family was okay and provided for and looked after. Because at the end of the day, is it really going to matter? Nope. And by the way, I'm going to say this right now, that was not financial advice. So don't listen to that's what I would do. It's not financial advice by any means. By all means, try and reduce your credit card debt or get rid of your credit card debt. And there is ways to do that because we've just done it. Does that mean I'm out of the woods? No, no chance. Absolutely no chance. But you're going to have to decide soon, and I mean soon, the way this is going. The UK is just, the whole of Europe's just gone back into lockdown. And of course, the morons in America are going to do the same thing. They're going to use that as a flag waving event, say, oh, they had to do it in America. Look what happened in America, the UK and Europe. Look what happened over there, blah, 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 blah. Well, does it make any difference? Nope. Are people going to die? Yep. It's a pandemic, folks. People are going to die. It's a pandemic. Might be me. Might be you. You know, I don't draw the lots for this job. I'm just here to live the life that I was given to lead. So does that mean I'm going to die in a pandemic? I don't know. But you can't sit there panicking about it. You know, their number one thing over this is that they're worried about getting, in England, for example, the NHS swamped, which is ironic because over all these years, and I lived there for a long time, remember, the NHS was swamped back then just from normal things. So you need an uptick of like, I don't know, 0.1%, and the NHS is the Bismarck or the Titanic. It's just not going to cope no matter what. And we haven't, and I'm going to say this in all actuality, we actually haven't had a pandemic yet. Yeah, we've got this COVID-19 thing, or coronavirus, or whatever you call it. But if you had a chance to read or go over the video that's on YouTube about the Australian or the Spanish flu, then you would understand the difference between then and now. Light years, folks, absolute light years. You know, I think we lost 20,000 people here in Australia. Was it more than that? It might have been 120 or something like that, but we've lost a couple of hundred. And that was in the 1919, wasn't it? When we didn't have anything like we have now. So there's swings and roundabouts with this. Righto, let's talk about, someone told me, someone got on the comments and said, Prep, where are you? Put a video out. You know, it's so close to the election, blah, blah, blah. Hey guys, look, I'm not a Trump fan, although I am a fan in the regards that he's not a politician, or he doesn't seem to be a politician. And look, the Democrats, Joe Biden, what a joke. If you want my dead set, honest opinion, here's how I think things are going to play out. Regardless of who wins, the country is going to go into absolute turmoil. And I mean, you're going to see people exiting states, which they already are, but in a mass scale. You're going to see people go, well, I'm not living in New York because it's Democrat run. I'm going to go and live in Dakota or whichever the Republican states are. So you're actually going to see, and you're actually going to see civil war type scenarios where people are actually told to leave. Get out, you red scum, or get out, you blue scum. Go and live in New York because that's where you deserve to live, sort of thing, blah, blah, blah. Same thing. You're actually going to start seeing armed militia. And this might surprise you. DC is not a state or a territory. I don't think it's a territory either, is it? Not sure. It's kind of like Canberra here in Australia. But you're actually going to start seeing the militia, the Republican militia, is going to actually go into places like DC and try and liberate it. Because obviously that's where common opinion tells you that that's where the base of the republic is, which is DC. But is it? Because it's run by a bunch of bloody crazy Democrats. So these are the things that, you know, I see coming in the future, and not too far away, unfortunately. I can't see it going any other way because the division, I was thinking about this before in the kitchen. The biggest problem is that they've led people along this path. You know, go to university. We'll tell you what to do, how to think. We'll give you this, we'll give you that. So you've got all these people now, generations of families who have just lived off the government, whether it be via a government job, government handouts, everything's been given to them by the government, and they expect that to keep going. So what do you think they're all freaking out because they now realise, and they're socialists, they're blatant socialists now. They now realise that, oh shit, our way of life is now in danger. If Trump gets back in, our way of life is never going to be the same again, because one of the first things Trump's going to do is he's going to go, you know, I've now got a mandate to stop all this bullshit. So Whether he's got the balls to do it or not is another thing. I think he has. And then the shit's going to hit the fan. Because you have people who have nothing else to lose. They've lost it. They're going to lose everything, so they're going to lose it. Their whole way of life, 3 generations of families just sitting around sucking off the government. So how do you think that's going to play out? And then the other scary part is, and these are the people that scare me the most, and this might surprise you. The people that scare me the most are the tree huggers. Oh, it's okay, don't be violent. Don't be this, don't be that. You can't do this, you can't do that. You can't say this, you can't say that. Blah, 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 blah. They're the scariest people out of all of this, because over the last 20, 30 years, they're the people that all these idiots have been listening to. And they're the people that are going to get cut down first. And then reality is going to step in, but it's too late. I've got people writing to me saying that we've already got lockdowns already, shortages in the US. Like in the US now, you can't buy certain things. Or if you can only have one. So look, this is not going, regardless of whoever gets in power, it is not going to end well. And if you've got the money or the means or the way, you need to seriously think about getting the shit out of the US. Although, look, I fully understand anybody who says, no, I'm not leaving, this is my country, I'm going to fight for it. And I have great respect for anyone that's going to do that. But I fully also understand anybody who wants to get their family out of that situation. New Zealand's a good pick. If you've got money to buy a house and that, you can fly straight into New Zealand. No ifs, buts, and maybes. And here in Australia as well. They'll literally throw a visa at you. As long as you've got $1 million, you can literally fly into the country, I think. All right, let's do the prayers. Just before I do the prayers, this is that documentary that I was talking about. I'll leave the link in the description box so you guys can watch it. It's very, very enlightening, folks. That's what I would say. Wow. How's this for a verse of the day after what I just said? It's amazing, isn't it? Okay, from 1 Peter 5, 8-9. Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, walks about like a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour. Resist him steadfast in the faith, knowing that the same sufferings are experienced by your brotherhood in the world. Wow, how good is that? How relevant is that? And as always, folks, we'll finish with the Lord's Prayer. Because, man, we need a prayer at the moment. The Lord's Prayer. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. All right, folks, I'll leave it there. I've probably gone on too long. Please share the video as much as you can. Get people out there to realise what's going on. All right, God bless. Prep out.